We, Melissa Rice and Carrie Higgins, chose to learn more about the interest and effect theory. In this presentation, we will share what we have learned about the interest and effect theory and how it can help us as teachers. This theory focuses on personal and situational interest, self-worth theory, emotions and educational outcomes, testing and test anxiety. We have chosen to do further research on self-worth and test anxiety. We feel that as teachers, we can use the information we learn to help our students to be more successful. Throughout our presentation, we will refer to a few other resources as well as our course resource text on the interest and effect theory.
Chapter 6, Interest and Effect. Self-worth theory. Self-worth is an affective or emotional reaction to the self. It can reflect taking pride in yourself and your behavior, feeling good about yourself and accomplishments, and having a general positive image of yourself. This is a theory we feel everyone has within them naturally. In education, it is important to teach students about this theory and how to best cope with the demands of it. It also focuses on successes and failures. According to Covington, specifically, self-worth theory focuses attention on the pervasive need implied in the drive theory model to approach success and to avoid failure, which causes a sense of worthlessness and social disapproval.
Another idea that was mentioned in Chapter 6 was about test anxiety and how it can affect students at all levels, from elementary through college. Test anxiety is a type of emotion that can have not only a negative effect on learning, but also a positive effect that is created by personal and situational interest. In defining test anxiety, there are a number of important issues to consider. A general definition for anxiety is an unpleasant feeling or emotional state that has physiological and behavioral concomitants and that is experienced in formal testing or other evaluative situations. Studies show that there are negative effects of anxiety on academic achievement. Test anxiety can cause poor performance, negative self-esteem, and fear of negative evaluations. Anxiety interferes with an individual's attention since all of the negative thoughts and worry can be very distracting. Research also shows that anxiety can be associated with lower intrinsic motivation for learning. Students who suffer from test anxiety can have deficiencies in general cognitive learning strategies or test-taking strategies. In other words, they do not know how to study, take a test strategically, or they were not well prepared in the first place. Current research of anxiety emphasizes that the most important factor is how the information is perceived and appraised by the individual student. According to the course text, it is not just the objective classroom environment that is important, but how students perceive and judge the setting affects their anxiety. This general perception mediating model is in the line with theories of motivation discussed in this text.
How can we relate? We discovered that the interest and effect theory relates to our way of teaching, our school, and our students. We both teach kindergarten at the same school, but have also taught other grades. We both taught second grade and have proctored state standardized tests. We can relate because we see students in our school who are unable to recall needed information for a test even if they studied and knew the material before the test. This usually results in test anxiety for our students. It can also affect the students' self-worth and their thoughts on success and failure. All too often, students think to themselves, "This test is too hard and I'll probably fail." But teachers can step in and encourage a positive mindset towards stress, instead leading students to success, leading students to think, "This test is really challenging, so I need to do my best." As teachers, we want to always encourage students to do their best so that their self-worth is strengthened.
Classroom examples. We have experienced this theory in our own classrooms numerous times. One time in particular, in a second grade classroom, one of the students had so much anxiety about the state standardized test that she chewed on her pencil vigorously. As a teacher, it is so hard to see your students as this anxious about something that is just a measurement of one day and how well they do. Teachers and students alike devote a lot of time and effort in the classroom and at home to prepare for the state exams every year because they know a lot is riding on them. For some students, this causes their feelings about testing to morph from a willingness to try their best to all-out test anxiety. Another example that comes to mind is when we have to retain a student in kindergarten. As teachers, we know how helpful it can be to retain a student in kindergarten to help strengthen their academic knowledge. However, the student might feel like a failure, even though we know it will be beneficial in the end. The student's self-worth will be strengthened because they will end up having a strong foundation. They will be more knowledgeable of the standards and will have more confidence in themselves.
Possibility for change. Learning more about this theory was very beneficial because we have learned a great deal about this theory and how it can help us as teachers. It has also given us ideas to try in the classroom to strengthen our students' motivational skills. One idea we discovered was that when instruction is very organized and easier tasks are given, students who suffer from anxiety can learn better. When students have good study skills and test-taking strategies, more working memory capacity will be freed up to cope with negative thoughts and worry generated by test anxiety. In contrast, if students do not have those skills, the worry generated by test anxiety interferes with attention and cognitive processing, and there is a concomitant drop in performance.
According to the course text, studies that have attempted to change school or classroom use of tests and report cards suggest that simple changes such as removing time constraints from tests can help students who suffer from test anxiety perform better. Test formats can be changed by teachers to ensure that all students have enough time. If mastery of the material is the teacher's goal, then the amount of time should not be an issue. Researchers also found that reducing the importance that teachers place on tests and the opportunities for social comparison of report card grades and test grades help to create a less anxious classroom climate. In addition to the classroom climate and structure, several studies have attempted to change students' coping strategies for dealing with anxiety. Some of the interventions or treatment studies have mainly addressed the emotionality component. Others have addressed the cognitive or worry component, and some have attempted to address both components.
In order to help our students with test anxiety, we found a list of test anxiety tips that we could potentially use in our classrooms. The following lists 10 ways to overcome test anxiety from Princeton Review. 1. Be prepared. 2. Get a good night's sleep. 3. Fuel up. 4. Get to class or the testing site early. 5. Have a positive mental attitude. 6. Read carefully. 7. Just start. 8. Don't pay attention to what other people are doing. 9. Watch the clock. 10. Focus on calm breathing and positive thoughts.